Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to Lazio Lounge. Unfortunately, we didn't make it the episode for Lazio Nice. We didn't have time. Very busy schedule even for us. But we are back here to talk about Lazio Empoli, a very important game, a very difficult game for Lazio. Let's not forget, Empoli was unbeaten so far. So Lazio was the first team to beat Empoli this season. Empoli conceded just 2 goals so far, so it wasn't an easy game. And I'm here to talk about Lazio Empoli with our Danish friend, Karsten Krog. Hi, Karsten. Nice to see you again.
Hello, Vittorio. Thanks so much for inviting me.
We'll have to talk about your friend because, this season, Isakssen didn't start very well, right? I don't know what's your thought about the new system, how Isakssen fit in the new system, but it looks like he had some good performance. He scored his first goal against Udinese. I thought that could change his season. But probably yesterday, if I have to pick one of the player who didn't play at his level against Empoli, probably Isakssen would be top of the list with Ivan Provedel. Do you agree with me?
You know, I really do. I'm a little bit disappointed with Gustav Isakssen. He's usually the kind of player who he's not really great the first season when he was when he was playing for Midtjylland. The first season he was up as a senior player. He was a very, very good youth player, one of the best in Europe. He scored a couple of goals against Manchester United in the youth league in the quarterfinals at some point. So everybody knew who he was back then, but it took him a couple of years to really get acquainted with the first team, to play really well in the first team. So I would think that this season should be his breakout season, and I completely agree with you. So far, it has not been his breakout season at all. I'm slightly disappointed by Isakssen.
The funny thing is, I thought he played very well last year, but hasn't been called from to the national team. This season, he's not playing great for us, but is this the second time in a row that he's been called for the Denmark national team? Is someone missing or what's going on?
Well, there's a couple of things. So the Danish national team coach just resigned 3 months ago after the European Championships. And so there's a new coach now, and they might look at new players. They have found 3, 4, 5 new players to play for the Danish national team. And he's been called up a couple of times in a row now. But I think that it's part coincidence because he's starting at the moment for Lazio. He starts every other game. I'm not going to say that he plays well, but he is starting.
Yep.
I think with Zaki, it was very different. Sometimes he wasn't starting in 3, 4, 5 games in a row. But then when he played, I agree with you. I think he had more of an impact. Like the last year in the Champions League, I think he came up with both assists when Lazio beat Celtic, right?
Celtic, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm still. He had 1 assist last weekend, but he didn't play well. That was basically his only contribution in the entire match. So I completely agree with you. I don't think he's gotten. I'm still waiting for Gustav Isakssen. I think there's one thing though that has gotten better. In the beginning, I thought that he sometimes he would give balls away that were quite dangerous for the opposition. I don't think he does that anymore. He plays almost too safe sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Last year, one of the things that I loved about Isakssen was that when he had the ball on his feet, he was heading to the goal. This season, he's more like looking around. Okay, what can I do instead of heading to the goal and try to score, which is a little bit strange. But Baroni looks like he has a lot of confidence. He every time after the game says Isakssen is a very talented player. I think he can do great things. So I think he's going to play a lot this season, even because Chauna so far didn't convince. So I think Isakssen is the starter there. The other option is maybe playing Noslin there. So we're going to see. But this is the first time we talk this season. What's your thought on the Baroni's Lazio? I mean, do you enjoy this team more than last year? Do you think Lazio is playing better?
Man, it's been such a roller coaster. When you asked me to join last week, I said we have to talk about whether or not Lazio is the team that I've ever seen that has changed more over 1 year. I can't recall any team that has changed so much, because you remember 1 year ago we had Sarri as a coach, right?
Yep.
We didn't score any goals. We didn't really create any opportunities. But then again, we had a really, really solid defense. We had these players who were running around like chess, basically like on a chessboard, who knew exactly what they were going to do in every single situation. He didn't rotate much. It was the same 11 players all the time. Now it's completely different. I have no idea what to get when I see Lazio. I know we're going to create a lot of goal opportunities because we do that in every single game. We score so many goals now. In the beginning, I was very concerned about the defense because I think our midfield, I think you and Alistair talked about this. Our midfield is not a very defensive-minded midfield. I mean, Rovella is basically the only defensive midfielder we have in the entire squad. Rovella cannot get injured. We have to pray every night before we go to bed that Rovella does not get injured.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We don't have option. I mean, no. Giving away Cataldi didn't make sense because you didn't replace him, and Cataldi was the only one who could play instead of Rovella. This is my biggest concern, which is incredible if you think about it. I mean, my biggest concern is that we don't have an option for Rovella, which is crazy. Yesterday, Vecino wasn't fit. He had a little...
he's never fit. He's always injured, Vecino.
But Baroni didn't specify why, but we didn't have option. It was Guendouzi, Rovella, that's it, which is crazy, right? But we have to say that in the last two games, Rovella and Guendouzi played terrific. They were amazing yesterday and even last Sunday.
I mean, Guendouzi is such a weird player. He's so difficult. I get so angry at him sometimes because he gives away goals.
Yeah.
Like the goal he gave away against Fiorentina, the penalty was just such a stupid penalty. But then yesterday, he's such a genius. The pass that he has to Castellanos, when Castellanos misses that huge chance to make it 3-1 in the end of the match.
Yeah.
Did you see the pass that he bet through the legs of the defender? I mean, that's a genius pass, you know. So sometimes Guendouzi, I get very, very excited by him, and sometimes I think that he needs to be a little more cautious, especially in defense. I think he's great at creating something offensively. I think he's great when he roams in midfield. But defensively, I'm a little scared when he's around the ball. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that he makes weird mistakes sometimes down there.
Yeah, and we are conceding far too many goals. And to be honest with you, they're always very stupid goals, right? Mm-hmm. Yesterday, it was really unfortunate. Provedel calls the ball and then he fell. I don't remember in the last 10 years a goal like that, you know. The goalkeeper that goes and I was there and said, where is Provedel? Where is he? And then I saw him down on his feet. It's incredible. We are conceding so many weird goals.
Yeah, but the thing is that every single match we have one of these, we basically give a goal away. Yep. Against Fiorentina, we gave 2 goals away. Against Verona, even, the guy who scored the goal when the 2 defenders didn't know who to pick up the ball. And then the Danish guy went through. You know that he played with Isakssen in Midtjylland, the guy who scored for Verona against Lazio. Yeah, he did. And he's a really good finisher. He's not a bad player. But it was just a present to him, you know, because the 2 defenders didn't know who should pick up the ball. Then he just picked it up. But I think Baroni, you asked me about Baroni, and I'm very positively surprised about him. I didn't know what to get at all. He's a journeyman, a classic journeyman. He's been coaching lower leagues for 20 years or so.
Yep.
But when you think about it, Lazio sort of has a history for having journeymen as coaches. If you look at the last 20 years, we had Delio Rossi, we had Davide Ballardini, we had Edu Rella, we had Petkovic, Rea again, Pioli, who was a journeyman back then. We sort of had a history of finding these coaches maybe not in the lower leagues, but below Lazio. I think Sai was the exception. For once, we got a top coach. Baroni is not a top coach, but maybe we are making him into one. I don't know. I think he's done so well so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought Lazio would have finished, top seven, maybe eighth.
Yeah,
But so
I
far, the
agree.
season it's very early, to be honest. I mean, it's the 7th of October.
Sure,
So,
sure.
but we are there. We are fourth. Have the same points of Juventus. Who could have thought about that in August? So
Hmm.
definitely very good. I like his mentality. I mean, this team looks a completely different team. We are creating chances. We are attacking. One thing very important compared to last year. Last year, when Lazio was conceding a goal, the game was finished. This season, yesterday, we went down 1-0, and this was the fourth time so far we considered first. And of these four games, we lost just one. We won two and drew against Milan. So this is a completely different team. I like this mentality. I like the football we are playing. I know we're going to struggle in some matches, but I mean, it's nice to watch this Lazio playing this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sometimes I was a big fan of Sarri, as you know. No, but the thing about Sarri was that we didn't have any freedom as players. Today, I think it looks like there's a lot of freedom, and I think the players are enjoying it. And also, there's one thing that I really like about Baroni with some of the stuff that he said to journalists. He said a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you noticed because it doesn't seem like much, but he said, because people were saying, who's going to start this tournament? How are you going to rotate? And he said, I have 20 starters. And sometimes when coaches say that, you think, yeah, of course, yeah, they have to say that. But I really think that that's the way he sees things. He has 20 starters. I don't know who's going to start in any match whatsoever. I don't. He rotates 3, 4, 5, 6 players. I mean, even players we thought we couldn't rotate, like Romagnoli, is being rotated. And that's great because then you're not so dependent on players. When we had Sai, we were extremely dependent on Romagnoli, on Felipe Anderson, Ciro Immobile playing well, Zaccagni. Without those players, we just weren't a good team at all. Today, sometimes I see players, I hardly know them because they're so brand new, but they're doing well.
Yeah, the question is now that you don't have Luis Alberto and Immobile, I guess it's easier to rotate. I mean, I don't think we have that drop of quality if you take off Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile that we had last year. We don't have them. So, I think passing from Dele Bashiru to Castrovilli is not that big drop. So maybe is that the reason? Or do you think Baroni would have done it anyway?
Well, I mean, the drop will get smaller when these players play all the time. If you only play once every fifth game, you're not going to get a very good player because he doesn't have any rhythm.
Yeah.
But if these players play every second game, you can put Castrovilli on, yes, because he played 2 weeks ago. You can put somebody else on because he also played like 2 weeks ago. But if they haven't played for a month or two, they're going to be just cold. They're not playing well at all. But I don't think that we've talked enough about Rovella because I think he's the best player. I think he's the best number 6 in Serie A at the moment, anywhere.
I, I
And we were so lucky when we got him from Juventus back then. But even then, we could see right away how the hell did we get this player for that kind of price? Because he's a first grade player. He really is.
I think it's ridiculous that he hasn't been called from Spalletti so far. I think it's embarrassing. But yesterday, probably man of the match, Rovella. Yes, he doesn't score, but he's everywhere. He's
So
incredible.
good. Oh, he's so good. He's a great defender, and because our midfield is so offensively minded, he's so incredibly important to us because he almost has to defend all on his own, if you know what I mean, in the midfield.
Yep.
Because he doesn't get a lot of, he just doesn't get a lot of help there. But he's not only a really, really good defender when the opposition has the ball, I think he's great with the ball on his feet as well. And I think Ricci, who it looks like is going to be the new number 6 on the national team, I think they're about the same level at the
Yeah.
moment. And Rovella's so young. He could be one of the best midfielders in the Italian league for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Really.
No, I agree. I agree. Can I ask you if you've been surprised by Nuno Tavarez? He did the 5th assist yesterday, top of the league.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Arsenal gave him away. He's been terrific so far.
He's a weird player. I think he's a little bit like Guendouzi. I don't know what I really get from him. Sometimes he takes shots from weird
Yeah.
positions, and you go, "What the hell was that? Why did he do that?" but I think that's part of his package is that he's a little bit unpredictable. I'm not sure he's a great defender, to be honest. I'm
No.
not, but he's really good going forward. And Vittorio, you've been a Lazio fan longer than me. I don't really remember us having great left backs. Maybe Kolarov, you know, but great left backs going forward. We haven't had them in a long time. And this guy is I think he makes Zaki a lot better too, because he's always on the outside of Zaki, which means that Zaki doesn't have to beat two people. He can only sort of beat one person because the other person has to follow Tavarez when he comes in these, on these runs. So I think that left side is great for us. The right side is not that great, but the left side is. We're creating so much from that side.
You mentioned Zaki. I thought yesterday was probably his best match this season. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with me? I mean, he's been struggling at the beginning of the season. Yesterday, he not only the goal, but overall, he played like a captain. He was the leader of this team, which is finally what we wanted, but we didn't see it this season.
I think that he's the new offensive heart of the team. So he's the new Luis Alberto in many ways. He's the guy that we're going to give the ball to him, and then he's going to set somebody up or score a goal himself. And Luis Alberto is getting so slow, and I think that he had too many bad games. Zaki is a better player, all in all. So yeah, I agree. He played really well yesterday. I think he'll grow and grow and grow for Lazio. I think he'll be a playmaker, modern, like a number 10, like an old number 10. He's going to be more and more like that, if you know what I mean.
Talking about Zaki, what do you make about the penalty? I mean, it looked like he took the ball and then give it to Castellanos on Thursday. I don't know if you saw it. Castellanos wanted to take the penalty to score a hat-trick, and Zaki took it away, so he gave it back. But I don't know. I think I have an old mentality. There's one who is the penalty taker, and that has to be every single game.
And I think Zaki is a really good penalty taker. I think he's even better than Ciro Immobile was, to be honest. And Castellanos, there's no doubt that Castellanos has improved a lot this season. He's a lot better than I thought he was. I basically have to apologize to him because I thought he wasn't good enough to be our number 9. But I think he is. I think he has proven this season that he is. But he's still not a very good finisher. He's just not. I know he had 2 great finishes this midweek when Lazio beat Nice. 2 great finishes. But this game, he's sort of back to the old Castellanos, right? So he misses the penalty, and the opportunity he misses 5 minutes before time, like for 3-1. It's such a big chance. It's a huge chance. And I think that the penalty, I completely agree with you. Let Zaki take those penalties because he looks so certain. Every time he hits the penalties, I'm thinking, even if the goalkeeper goes to the right side, he's not going to save that.
Yeah, it was a poor penalty. I mean,
it's terrible.
It was really bad. And we have to say that the Empoli's goalkeeper is really good. I was impressed. I saw him all season long. Even against Juventus, he was terrific. So, when you have a goalkeeper like that, you have to be careful. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you about Castellanos. He missed against Torino huge chances. He's up and down, I would say. He scored much more than last year, so that's important. And made the assist to Pedro yesterday. So that definitely helped. But
yeah. No, I agree with you. So my best friend was the guy who coached Gustav Isakssen when he was a young player. And he teaches me a lot about football and statistics and stuff. And he says to me, the most important thing about a striker is that he gets the chances. So he can miss chances for a long time, but if you keep getting the chances, at some point, most strikers are going to score the goals as well. And I think that's the good thing about Castellanos. He does get chances in every single match. He's such a strong guy, such a little strong guy.
Yeah.
And his head, I think his head has I mean, he's no bigger than you and me, Vittorio, but he's just so strong.
He trained a little bit more than us, I think. That's the difference.
Maybe he jumps a little bit higher than you and me, I think.
Slightly. What do you take about Pedro? I mean, I thought he was finished last year. He's been amazing this so far. Again, another decisive goal. And do you think he needs to start?
No, I think this is perfect. I think that having Isakssen or Noslin or somebody's play for about an hour and then getting 37-year-old Pedro on the pitch is perfect, because he has so much class. And let's be honest, he's a much better finisher than Isakssen. He's a better finisher than Noslin. He's probably the best finisher in our team, actually. And he has to be very fresh when he plays. And I don't think he has more than 20 minutes in him, to be honest. But if you can get him to score a goal every time, he's a super sub. And I think on this Baroni team, I think he fits much better than he did with Sarri, because I think Baroni basically just tells him, go on the pitch, score the deciding goal. You can do whatever you want. And I kind of like that about him.
Yeah, that's the reason why we concede so many goals, because all the attackers are free to do whatever they want, but they forget to defend.
Even the midfielders are free to do what they want. That's the problem.
Yeah, and Guendouzi is a crazy horse, right? It's difficult to manage. Yeah. So we are maybe too much offensive, but if you go and see the table, we are there, which is incredible, I think. Yes, we didn't play big teams yet. We only played against Milan, but we didn't have an easy fixture so far. So I'm impressed, to be honest.
No, and we played 2 European games. We've won them both very convincingly. If you look at the stats for the Serie A, if you look at the XGs and all that stuff, we haven't been lucky at all. We deserve to be exactly where we are. Actually, we could probably be a couple more places, a couple higher. So no, at the moment, I think, to my big surprise, I think Lazio is doing really well, because I just like you, I thought that this would be a struggling year for Lazio. I thought that we would turn out to be number from 7 to 9. Yeah, actually, and now I look at it and I dream of the Champions League now. I'm not saying I think it's possible. And if you had asked me a month and a half ago, I would have said it's not going to be this year. We need another year.
Yeah, no, me too. Absolutely. I mean, but yesterday was the perfect example. In the past, Lazio against a team that defends like that, like Empoli did, with 10 men behind the ball, probably we would have, if we were lucky, drew or otherwise lose the game. Instead, we won. And, even with Empoli defending like that, we had so many chances. That's the biggest difference compared to the past, right?
Yeah, I agree. The great thing is that that Lazio is not, we're just creating so many chances. So even though if we were up 1-0 and the other team is trying to find that equalizer the last 15 minutes, with Sarri, we were always in difficulties the last 15 minutes of the game. Sometimes, most of the times, we would pull out of it with a little luck. Sometimes they would equalize. Sometimes they would even beat us. But we just didn't have anything going forward the other way. If you look at yesterday, Lazio gets the 2-1 goal, right? We have so many chances to make it 3-1 the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the new Lazio, because the old Lazio would not have done that. They would just have buried themselves really, really low and hope for Provedel to get them out of trouble. But last night, I mean, Empoli didn't have a chance the last 10 minutes. Actually, they were lucky that Lazio didn't score to 3 and 4-1, maybe. There are a couple of really big chances in there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a huge difference compared to the past. I mean, probably this youngster comes in with a different mentality. I mean, usually in the last minutes when we are 1 goal ahead at the stadium, you are really concerned that they're going to score with 1 chance. Empoli didn't have a single opportunity, while Lazio missed a couple of good chances. I think the youngsters are bringing new energy, new mentality that we didn't have. So probably we should have sold Ciro Immobile and Luis Alberto 1 year ago instead of this summer, right?
Yeah, and Philip Anderson, who I think was such a good player for Lazio. But sometimes when you sell the best players, so you don't have your top players anymore, something happens with the hierarchy in the squad. because there's no doubt that if you looked at the hierarchy the last 3-4 years, you have one leader, right, Thierry Immobile, and then you have people like Zaki, Luis Alberto, Philippe Anderson, Romagnoli, who are number 2, number 3, number 4 in the hierarchy. And because these players have been there for such a long time, you sometimes have a hierarchy that's very, it's very set in its ways. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they were assholes to the other players. I don't think they were. Thierry Immobile strikes me as a really, really nice guy. But I'm just saying that the hierarchy, I think, was very, very set. Now there's no hierarchy. It doesn't look like there's much of a hierarchy. Maybe Zaki is sort of the king of the team, Romagnoli maybe, but not like Thierry Immobile and Luis Alberto was in the past. And that lack of hierarchy, I think sometimes just makes the other players go, well, everybody has a chance here. You know, I'm just going to go out and do my best. It seems like everybody gets a chance. So I don't know if the other teams have it. I can ask you about this, Vittorio. Do you think the other teams have difficulties reading Lazio as a team because they're so confusing, to be honest?
Well, in a certain way, yes, because we are such a offensive-minded team that, for example, yesterday, Empoli blocked Dia, that has been amazing so far. 5 games for 5 goals. And yesterday he was pretty much invisible. But you block Dia, you still have Isakssen, Zaki, Pedro, Nuno Tavarez. You cannot block everybody. So, you know, a game where Dia is pretty much invisible, Zaki step up. A game where Zaki is marked, then Dia comes back. You know, so we have so many different options. Let's not forget that against Torino, it's Noslin that have done nothing so far that scored the decisive goal. So, you know, it's, as you were mentioning, there's not any more Ciro dependence. He's going to score. He's the only one scoring, etc. We don't have Ciro anymore, but we have Tati, Dia, so many options that it's difficult to mark them all. And probably this is creating chaos, and the other team doesn't know what to do. You know, it's true that on the other side, we are conceding a lot, because if our left back and right back are attacking at the same time, then we are defending with 2 men less. But it's not possible to mark them all in a certain way, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I completely understand. When I look at Lazio's lineup sometimes, I think, who's going to defend on this team?
Yeah.
We have 2 players in the center, right? They're defenders. Let's say it's Gila and Romagnoli, right? Then you have a left back who's not a very good defender. You have a right back who's Lazare, who's a pretty bad defender. And then you have 2 wingers who don't really defend at all. Zaki and Isakssen don't defend. Yep. Then you have Rovella, he's a defender. And then you have Guendouzi next to him, he doesn't defend either. And you have Dia, who's a striker, who's also in the midfield. And then you also have the strikers. You know, it's great. I love the fact that we can play that way. And every time I look at Lazio, I'm sort of thinking, they have to change at some point. We can't play because it's almost naive to play like that. But it seems like the other teams don't really have a formula to play against Lazio. I think they're just as confused as we are, Vittorio.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it looks like FIFA. We're playing with 4 strikers. They can put it however you want. But Lazio is playing with a 4-2-4. Yeah. And I mean, it's, if you would have said last year, you're going to play with a 4-2-4, yeah, we're going to concede 100 goals per game. Instead, we are scoring more than the goal we are conceding. And it's incredible. It's a very, very offensive. I have to admit that I enjoy watching Lazio. Yes, I'm not happy when we concede stupid goals. But this season, we know that we're going to score. Some way or another, we're going to score goals. And I think with the level of Serie A that I think it's very low, this team can really achieve everything. I mean, we can score against every team.
I agree. I think this Lazio has a chance to beat just about every team there is. I think size Lazio did as well, to be honest. I thought they could beat anyone on the day. But this is a very different team. You get chances out of nothing, basically. Yep. It's like half an hour left on the pitch, and you're thinking, we're probably going to struggle to do anything. And then we create 3 really big chances in 5 minutes or something. I think there's a lot of freedom on the team. I know that I've said it before, Vittorio, but right now it just looks like they're really enjoying themselves on the pitch. Have you seen how much the reserves, how happy they are when the guys on the pitch score goals? It seems like there's a really, really good unification on the team at the moment.
But
It's yeah, go ahead.
as you were saying before, they feel like they're starters as well. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
and you were mentioning hierarchy. Zaccagni is not playing; it's not starting in Europe League. That would never happen last year, right? So even Chauna, who hasn't started a lot, he feels, well, I'm gonna play in Europe League, so I'm fine. And Nosley know that he's gonna get his opportunity. Dele Bashir will start eventually, etc. So they are all feeling part of the team. And, this has a huge impact in the performance of the team. I'm not sure Castrovilli will have the right position because in this team that's not playing 4-3-3 anymore, I don't know how he can fit, but he's still playing. So, and he had a huge opportunity yesterday. So, everybody, Mandas is playing as well. So everybody feel, I'm not starting today, but I will next week. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's you really have to hand it to Baroni. I think he's done an excellent job of creating sort of a very, very unified football team. I think I'm not saying they're all friends on the team because I know that these guys are very, very tough competitors, all of them, and many of them, of course, see some of the other players as their direct rivals. But it just looks like they're enjoying themselves so much on the pitch. Sometimes when Sai's team were playing, it almost looked like they didn't really want to be out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in the end. They just kind of look like, oh, we're going to do this system again, the exact same system. We're not allowed to have any creative freedom or anything. He wants me to go there. He wants me to go there. Isakssen even said it when he was called up for the Danish national team. He said, you have a new coach. This was Tudor, right? What do you think about that? And Isakssen said, I think maybe it's good to have a coach who will let us play a little more free. So the other players didn't say it, but Isakssen said it.
Yeah, and the other thing with Baroni that is different is Pedro started right back, right wing, then he started centrally, trequartista, then he played on the left, Noslin as well. Everybody's changing position. So even the opponent doesn't know what to expect. They see the list and said, okay, but where will Zaccagni play? Where will Isakssen? This is creating issue. And I think the players enjoy it. This time I'm playing on the right, then I'm playing on center. It creates a little bit of chaos on a surprise from other teams as well. And I think players are enjoying it. And probably Baroni still have to find out the right position for everybody. But in the meantime, we are still winning games, which is incredible.
Yeah. And Vittorio, when we can't figure out who's going to be starters, the opposing teams, they don't know either.
Yeah.
So every time they're playing Lazio, you have a coach and a coaching staff who's looking at the Lazio team and they're saying, we don't know who's going to start. And I think as long as the other teams can't read Lazio, we have a huge advantage. That might change in 3 or 4 months, when we have a little more. We don't have a lot of injuries either now. At some point, we might get 5 or 6 injuries. So it's going to be different. But at the moment, we have almost everybody ready to play. And it seems like they're all really in this team to be part of the team, all of them. You don't have anybody sulking when they're not playing, like Luis Alberto, I think was terrible for morale the last couple of seasons he was in Lazio. I really do think so. I think he was a great player, but I don't think he was a very good teammate, to be honest, the last couple of seasons. And I think these guys are all pretty good teammates to each other. That's my impression anyway. I mean, I haven't been in the locker room, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I think one of the biggest advantage Baroni had is he didn't have to manage Ciro and Luis Alberto, even because they are in that period of their career that you cannot consider them starters anymore. I mean, no. Yes, they can start games, but they will have to understand that a lot of time they will be on the bench. And I think the fact that Tati is playing much better this season is even because there's not any more Ciro there. He felt the pressure. He knew that, yeah, I'm starting, but if I miss the first chance, Ciro will be warming up in 5 minutes and he will come in. Now he knows that Ciro's not there anymore and he's the starter. He's the number 9, even more now that Diaz playing with him. So pretty much his only opponent is playing as well.
Yeah, in that way, I think Baroni was a little bit lucky, because one of the most difficult things as a coach is to get rid of the star players
Yeah.
who are getting to be a little bit too old, because they're very powerful. These are people who've had a lot of success. There's a lot of fans out there who love them. I mean, there's a reason we love Torinos Immobile. He's been incredible for Lazio.
Yeah.
But he wasn't that great last season, and especially in the spring, he just didn't perform. He didn't really score any goals. And then I know that we like to be a little hard on Lotito sometimes, but I think Lotito kind of took the responsibility of getting rid of the star players, and then Baroni comes to the team, and he doesn't need to do that. He's basically free to build a team of his own. Because if Baroni had come to the club and the first thing he did was to get rid of Torinos Immobile and Luis Alberto and maybe Philip Anderson, it would have been very difficult for him unless he just started out winning 5 games in a row. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Fans would have hated him. He's the guy that sent away our leader, a captain, a goal scorer. So yes, obviously, it would have been a nightmare.
I mean, fans in Roma still remember Spalletti for sending away Totti when he was 41 years old.
Yeah. No, absolutely makes sense. I mean, Lotito took this responsibility. The thing, just to wrap it up, is I thought this team is very young, and I was thinking we have some interesting, talented players, but I thought, in 2 years' time, Chaunau will be amazing. In 2 years' time, Dele Bashiro will be great. This season, it's going to be ups and downs. Instead, we are finding a way to win difficult games. I mean, beating Torino away, they were top of the league. It wasn't easy. Beating Empoli, who was undefeated. Juventus didn't manage to beat them. Roma lost at home. These are incredible positive signs. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's very early. But really, looking how the other teams are struggling, Roma should have been top 4. They're behind us. Milan lost against Fiorentina, Atalanta, a lot of injuries. Don't want to say it loudly, but we can maybe be the surprise of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks really good so far. Surprisingly good, I have to say, because I must admit I did not see this coming. I think the great thing about all these wins that you're talking about, Vittorio, is that they were fully deserved. Fully deserved. I don't remember a win when we were lucky. I think we've been unlucky. I think Fiorentina, we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
We should have at least gotten a point, but maybe we should have gotten 3 points even. So I don't think we've been lucky with the wins that we have. And also, I think we won pretty comfortably. In Torino, you say that we beat a strong team. I think we were better than Torino. I think Lazio played a better team. Were a better team than Torino.
Yeah, we played better than Torino. We should have won that game 4-1, to be honest with you. But Torino was probably in the best moment of their career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Winning, top of the league, playing great football. The striker was, the Scottish guy, Adams, was scoring every single game. So, it wasn't easy to go there and beat them. And instead we did.
But I think this Lazio team they're just not impressed by anybody. I think they're just going to go and play. Because I think people didn't really believe much in them. And then Baroni basically told them, no one really thinks we're going to do anything this year. So you're pretty much free to play. I mean, they're already doing really, really well.
Absolutely. My only concern is that if Rovella or Guendouzi get injured, we don't have any option there.
Well, they have to. I mean, I'm not one for talking about new players all the time, because I think Lazio has a good squad. But we have to, in the winter transfer window, we have to find one, maybe 2 central midfielders, and one of them has to be a defensive-minded central midfielder.
Absolutely.
We have to find a reserve Rovella, because he can't play twice a week, and Rovella also is injury prone. We know that.
He never finished a full season. He never played a full season. So
no.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can try Patrick there, but it would be
no, it doesn't work. We don't have anybody there. And I think that Castrovilli, I saw him yesterday. I'm not convinced by Castrovilli. I'm not. I think it's okay that we have him there, but I think he takes a lot of chances with the ball, makes some mistakes, like Guendouzi. He makes mistakes with the ball.
No, he absolutely cannot play there. He's a
No.
more a trequartista than so. Yeah, I mean, it was a risk. You could understand it, right? You took him for free, so you didn't have to pay. So you can take the. He was a former national team player. He's coming out of 2 years with 2 surgery to his knee, so it's a huge risk. But it didn't cost you nothing.
No,
But
I think the signing was fine. There's nothing wrong with the signing. I'm just saying he's not a top midfielder as it is. We have one top midfielder, that's Rovella. We have another one who's close to being a top midfielder, and that's Guendouzi. But I think they need somebody else close to them who has a bit of a defensive mindset when the rest of the entire team you're talking about is just trying to attack all the time,
Yeah, I mean, I was joking with Alasdair last week, and I said Provedel is playing because he can score goals. That's why. I mean, we play only players who score. Well, this team will be attacking with 11 players next week. So
I agree with you.
Yep. Karsten, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure to see you. When you come to Rome, please call me. We have to go out and enjoy ourselves.
I will. Thanks for the invitation, Vittorio, as usual.
Whenever you want, you know that you're more than welcome. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Rate and review the podcast. Thanks to our Patreon. Remember, you can subscribe at patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Thanks, Diego. It was a pleasure. And we'll be back as soon as possible. Take care, guys.